What is going on, New York Giants fans? Hit Squad back at it with another video. And today we are going to be talking about the New York Giants pulling off the upset against the Tennessee Titans. Now, this is my instant thoughts. I was taking notes throughout the game, so I'm going to give you guys my thoughts from my perspective from what I saw. But before I do, if you're new to the channel, join the Hit Squad, leave a like below, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts on this video below. Now, instant thoughts off rip, I thought that this team looked competitive in moments. I thought that this team, especially in the first half, looked a little bit confused, which if you hadn't seen my previous video, I stated that I thought, this offense would get off to a slow start the first 2 to 3 weeks. And you could definitely see that. And I understand that. It is a complex offense. We heard that a lot throughout this offseason. But, overall, I thought this team looked competitive. I thought that in and out, there are things that we have to work on. But, let's break this down, man. Actually, before we do, prayers up to second round rookie Wandale Robinson. He was out with a knee injury. We don't know what it is at the moment. He was on the sideline, with his team for the rest of the game. But you never want to see any player go down, and it's really upsetting to see. But we did see more Richie James with Wandale not being in the game. But prayers up to Wandale, man. I really hope that he can have a speedy recovery. But looking at the offense, it was carried by Saquon Barkley. Let's just be honest. It was carried by Saquon Barkley. This dude is a stud. I mean, 18 carries, 6 receptions, 194 total yards with a touchdown. I mean, he's been saying this whole offseason that he is playing with the rage. All the haters and all the doubters that have been talking smack about Saquon, and saying that he's a scrub and that his best years are behind him. He's riddled with injuries. I mean, he looks like his old self. And I've been stating on Twitter that this kid is going to feast this year. You look at the scheme, with Dable getting him involved in the passing game as well as the running game. I mean, it's very safe to say that if he could stay healthy, he could have a similar year, if not a better year, than his rookie season, which he completely dominated the league. Saquon looked fantastic today. I'm very happy for him. I really am. I mean, it's nice to see him back, and it's nice to see him, having fun on the field and, getting in the end zone because I've definitely missed that as a fan. Now, the big topic that a lot of people are going to talk about is Daniel Jones. I thought that Daniel Jones, for the most part in this game, actually played fairly well. There were certain things that kind of left me scratching my head, which is pretty common with Daniel Jones. But let's just be honest here. While Saquon did carry this offense, Daniel Jones did lead us down the field as well, with the game-winning touchdown. And in my opinion, I don't think that this kid deserves a lot of the hate that he was getting. I was seeing some crazy tweets from some Giants fans that were ready to jump ship within the second quarter. Now, the first half, this offense just did not look good. And I've been saying, that this Titans defense, it's hellacious. They know how to get to the QB. They could draw up different ways to get to the quarterback. Jeffrey Simmons is a beast. Bud Dupree is a monster. And I mean, this offensive line, I mean, for them to give up, I believe, 5, 6 sacks this game, as well as having 5 penalties, I mean, you don't want to see that. They terrorized this offensive line. Now, I'm not going to overreact to the offensive line. There's new pieces on this offensive line. You have a rookie right tackle. You have a new right guard. You have a new center. You have Ben Bredesen, who I believe had his second start today. I mean, it's gonna happen. They have to build chemistry. They're young players. Let them develop chemistry with each other. And I think that as the season goes, we'll see this offensive line progress. But for the most part, I thought the offensive line, especially in the second half, started to pick things up a little bit. We were making holes for Saquon. We were giving Daniel Jones some pockets. And you saw, despite our left guard getting killed on that play where Daniel Jones throws a bomb to Sterling Shepard, I mean, the offensive line, for the most part, gave him a pocket outside of our left guard, which I believe was Joshua Azudu, who Joshua Azudu, I'm not going to get too hard on him. I know a lot of fans were getting on him. He's a rookie. Let him develop. I think that once Lemieux gets back up and running, he is dealing with an injury right now. You can plug him back in there. Again, Ben Bredesen is just getting familiar with this offensive line and playing in NFL games. So I'm not going to get too hard on Joshua Azudu. I mean, we got to give him some time to grow, give him some time to learn. Offensive line, though, it had its moments where it looked good, but man, it had its moments where it looked shaky. It looked really shaky. And I know a lot of people were getting on Daniel Jones for, that fumble that he had. But let's be honest, man. I mean, he barely had any time. I'm gonna just call a spade a spade. I mean, how quick was the defender in the backfield? I mean, he made Azudu, I believe it was Azudu, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he made Azudu look crazy on that play. Regardless of who it was, if I got the name wrong or not, he made that player look crazy on that play. And let's be honest, he's a beast of a player. He's making a lot of money for a reason. He's one hell of a defender. At the same time, I mean, I just don't think that Daniel Jones saw him. I mean, he got back there quick. So for me personally, again, there were things that Daniel Jones had to work on, but that fumble, I'm not going to get too hard on Daniel Jones for. Better play by the defense, in my honest opinion. I also thought, speaking of defense, the New York Giants defense, despite not having Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau, I thought they actually played fairly solid. I thought they limited Derrick Henry, which I said in my previous video that you're not going to be able to stop Derrick Henry. But what you can do is limit Derrick Henry. And one player I was looking at particularly was Tay Crowder, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I was also looking at the interior. You have big Leonard Williams there, big Dex, all up in the middle. They could stuff the run. And I really liked some of the plays that Wake Martindale was drawing up. They found different ways to stop the run. They found different ways, to draw up blitzes. I mean, for not having your two premier edge rushers, I thought the defense held their own against, again, I understand the Titans, they made some adjustments this offseason when you look at, the players that they took on the offensive side of the ball, but they're still a solid team. I thought that, there was moments that they could have taken over in this game, but they just didn't make the most out of their opportunities. But, I thought that this was an impressive win for the New York Giants. I really did. I mean, they came back from what looked to be, a shutout game at one point. And in my honest opinion, while there's things that this team has to work on, I thought that there was things that gave you some promise, with this team, things to get excited about with this team. I mean, for starters, how is this defense going to look with Kayvon and Azeez? I mean, because that's already an upgrade over Jihad Ward and O'Shane Ximines. Now, O'Shane Ximines, I thought actually played fairly solid today. He was a little quiet, but he was getting pressure on the quarterback. He was patting balls down. He was doing fairly well in the run game, but he looked pretty good. But again, Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau coming off of the line, that is a lot different than Jihad Ward and O'Shane Ximines. But again, defense looked pretty solid. Got no complaints there. Now, I will say, I thought that the running game looked very solid for the offense. I had tweeted constantly going into the half and coming out of the half that we needed to run the ball more. Because when you run the ball, that's going to help the passing attack. And what did we do? Boom. Run the ball. Saquon Barkley takes that ball damn near to the house. So, it's... For me personally, we saw it in the preseason that this offensive line, at least in the run game, looked pretty solid. They were opening up lanes for Antonio Williams. They were opening up lanes for Joshua Corbin. So for me personally, that's one of the reasons why I'm excited for Saquon this year, is that I believe that he's going to have the best offensive line that he's had in his NFL career. We've seen what he's been able to do with the pretty bad offensive line. How is he going to do behind a decent to at least an average offensive line? Carried this offense today. I mean, that to me is the reason why you drafted that kid as high as you did, because he's special. When he is healthy, Saquon Barkley is a special player. There are not many players like him. But again, for me, I'm happy with the dub. Very happy with the dub. I had us getting a dub in this game. So Almost had the score right too. I had us at, I believe, 24-17. Almost had us there. Now, I got to say this much too. A lot of Giants fans are wondering as to why, and including myself, why Kadarius Toney wasn't getting as much action as I I thought he was gonna have. I mean, he was barely on the field. When he was on the field, he was making plays, but then he would get taken out almost automatically on the next play. So it didn't make sense to me. We saw a lot of Richie James, which not for nothing. Richie James is a talented wide receiver. I mean, he's a crisp route runner. He can kind of do similar things that Kadarius Toney can do. But I think that when you have a player like Kadarius Toney, who's elusive, he can throw the ball, he can create separation, he can take over a game damn near. I mean, why not have your playmakers on the field? So I think that's a question that has to be asked to Brian Dable in his presser. You know, why was KT not being featured that much? I thought in the second half you saw him a lot more than you did in the first half. But again, you got to get your playmakers on the field. You have a healthy Saquon, you have a healthy Kadarius Toney, you have a healthy Galladay who got some action in this game as well. But again, so I hope that some of these beat reporters can actually ask Brian Dable that, because that's something that's on my mind too. Now, one player I really do want to talk about really quick is Sterling Shepard. Riggs, aka Young Shep. I mean, coming off of a serious Achilles injury, man. I mean, to ball out like that, to have what I believe it was a 60-yard touchdown by Daniel Jones, which was, to me, with pressure in his face, a dime. Um, credit to Sterling Shepard. I mean, year in and year out, we know that he's reliable in the sense of when he's healthy, you know, he's going to make some plays, you know, but that's a problem with Sterling Shepard is when he's healthy. But he's a hard worker. You know, he puts it all on the field. He creates separation. I think you can make an argument he's one of, if not our best route runner on the team. And you saw him get downfield, create separation, and was able to slip out of a tackle and get into the end zone. So very happy, very happy for young Shep there. You know, this might be his last season with the New York Giants. So anytime he could get into the end zone, I'm very happy for the kid, man. Very deserving. Now, one thing I want to touch on too, you know, that I forgot to touch on with the defense is I thought that our linebackers were getting tested heavily today. You know, you saw that with Tay Crowder, who gave up a touchdown. You saw that with Austin Carlito. So that's something that they have to address. And they got to address that quick, especially if Kayvon and Aziz don't play next week, which we'll find out as we get closer to the game. But I thought that the linebackers were going to be tested. I thought in the run game they played fairly solid, which that was a concern of mine going into this game. I wanted to see our linebackers plug their gaps, and I thought that they did a pretty good job at that. But again, I thought our linebackers were tested. They had moments where they looked pretty good, but they also had moments where, you know, you're saying to yourself, you know, we definitely need an upgrade at that position. So that's definitely something to look at. Another thing that some Giants fans I saw were complaining about was Darnay Holmes, who, I'm not gonna lie, Darnay Holmes damn near gave me a heart attack. You know, you can't give up two penalties and give up multiple receptions, and especially with the game on the line, you just can't do that. It gave me like O'Shane Ximines vibes against the Chiefs last year, where we could have beaten the Chiefs and then he jumps off sides. Or you look at, you know, games that we played in previous years against Carolina, against Philly, where they're able to kick these long field goals and come out with the dub when we should have. So it's nice to see the Giants on the opposite end of that stick. It feels really good to be 1-0. We beat the curse, which was we haven't been able to win week one in what, 5 years? God, man, that's horrible. But changed it. You know, we're 1-0. Feels really good. And we got Carolina this week. Now, if you guys don't know, we have a segment on this channel called The Giants Breakdown. Now, this Friday, I will be having a guest on this channel, and we are going to be breaking down the matchup between the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants this upcoming Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited. But let us know your thoughts below. What were some things that you saw in this game that you liked? What were some things that you disliked in this game? Let us know your thoughts on the game overall. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. Again, Feels really good to be 1-0, especially week one. We haven't had that in quite some time. I'm really excited to take on Carolina, who's going to be looking to bounce back after a disappointing loss today. So it's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. But let us know your thoughts below again. We'll see you guys in the next video.